Hi, Mac.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
So, thanks for taking some time out to join me today. We're going to be talking about Marvel. We're going to try something new. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be very lo-fi, but we just thought we would chat about what's going on with Marvel and go over the new comic books and go over some of the other Marvel news and um, see how that goes.
I'm always
And
down for a talk about Marvel. So,
yeah. So uh, at first, I want to make sort of a laughing place announcement, which not a Marvel announcement because we're not Marvel, but Mac has been named our editorial director for the Marvel brand. So effective today. So congratulations, Mac.
thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about the opportunity.
So today, if it wasn't for the theme parks, probably the big story would have been Marvel because Marvel Comics came back, and there's some other Marvel news happening. So it was a little bit frantic, but
Yeah.
uh, so they're starting the Marvel comics. So if you don't know, Marvel Comics kind of went on a break because of distribution issues related to COVID-19. So they're starting with a few issues today. They're going to take next week off, and there'll be some more issues coming. So we're going to go through some of our issues, go give a brief rundown. We'll make our picks of the week. Because there's only 4 issues, we're going to go through each of them. We won't do that when there's 20 issues, but we'll do that today. There is a 5th issue, which is Star Wars Dr. Aphra #1, the new Dr. Aphra that takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Mike Celestino is our Star Wars expert, and he actually reviewed this book when it came digitally on May 4th. So check that out if you want to learn more about that book. But first, our first issue is Amazing Spider-Man #43. There it is. Whoa. It's written by Nick Spencer. Eventually. There it is. It's written by Nick Spencer with art and covers by Ryan Otley. So can you give us a little, it might be a bit since people read Amazing Spider-Man, so you can give us a little rehash where
Yeah.
we are?
Yeah. So this one was you kind of are jumping right into a story here. I believe this is part 3 of this story, and it's basically it's a weird story to jump into also because it's Spidey teaming up with Boomerang, which is kind of different, and then against a lesser known villain or monster, which is Gog. It was kind of a fun, not really a big like serious issue, just a fun little story that didn't didn't have a big impact on the Marvel universe as a whole, but just a fun little story.
I've taken this opportunity to kind of get back into Marvel. I go comes and goes just because of time, and but what I liked, even though this was the middle of a story, I felt like it was self-contained, like you could read the story, and it was a cute little sort of warm up.
Yeah.
Like it's not like an Avengers book where it's all crazy and there's galactic
Right.
consequences and stuff, and you have no idea what's going on. And I mean, Avengers are great in the movie when you can figure it out in 2.5 hours, and there's everything's somewhat on a relatable scale. But sometimes I think that book gets a little just like Justice League over at DC can get a little unwieldy. I really enjoyed this book. In fact, this book, not to lead off, is my pick of the week, especially just the way it
Oh, wow.
ends. I don't want to reveal it, spoil it, but it's, to me, it's just so Spider-Man, like just
Yeah.
like it's about his home life, right? And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll just say this was the first one I read today, and it was kind of funny. Like it just hit me, kind of fit perfectly, having just gotten a puppy. So it just kind of fit in very well. So it's kind of ironic, but
What's the name of the puppy?
that would be Sergeant James Buchanan Bucky Barks.
Oh, does he go by Bucky?
Yeah, just Bucky.
Okay.
The whole thing would be a bit of a mouthful to call every time.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, we got Avengers #34, written by Jason Aaron, who's just a fantastic guy. and big Disney fan, and art by Javier Garron, and this cover's by Mateo Scalera. So Avengers Assemble. And I think this is, if the cover does not mislead me, this is part one, so it's a great jumping on point.
Yeah. Part one of the new story, The Age of Khonshu. By the way, weird thing, reading comics for so long, but never really talking about them all that much. Pronunciations are weird, right?
Right. Like there's
Khonshu,
definitely been Marvel characters where like I'm talking to a friend of mine and I say a word and I go, oh, like that's what he's called. Like that makes a lot more
yeah.
sense than what I've been
Have I
saying.
been reading that wrong for
Yeah.
years? I didn't even know. This is actually Avengers 33 is my pick of the week. I've always been a huge Moon Knight fan. I've been reading Moon Knight series for several years now, and to see him play such a huge role in a new Avengers story was so awesome. Um, by the way, this one we have a full review up on Laughing Place right now, so you can go and check that one out. I won't get too much into it, but it was just really cool to see him on the villain side almost. It's with Moon Knight, things are always complicated. You never know what's real and what's not. A lot of stuff is going on inside his head. But it was a lot of fun to see him go toe to toe with guys like Iron Fist and Doctor Strange.
What I liked about it was Moon Knight is a complicated character, and especially with the Disney Plus show coming, it was nice to have sort of a reset, sort of where I could get, kind of get in his head a little bit, because it's hard to get in the crazy people's heads, when you're reading a comic book. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing where this story goes. And it's nice that it's, we're getting a Avenger story coming, that's a little bit more focused, still has a huge cast, but we're able to really, you're able to get your head around it, especially
Right.
trying to recalibrate to comics coming back.
Right. It's not something where it's like, the end of the galaxy or, the universe is at stake.
Yeah,
But
it's
I guess we'll see. At least for now, it doesn't seem that way. But he does show off some big time power in this first issue. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, it can always get there, but it's nice that sometimes I feel like there's some Avenger stories where it's like page 2, there's this like end of the universe
yeah,
threat, and you're like, where did that come from? Or it's something that suddenly gets a lot more bigger in scope than you think it was to begin with.
yeah,
So next we have Marauders number 10, by written by Jerry Dugan, art by Stefano Cecili, and covered by Russell Dodderman. And this takes place, in sort of the revamped X-Men stories that Jonathan Hickman's been doing,
yeah.
leading.
There's a whole
So
House of X and Powers of X storyline going on right now.
but it's a great issue for if you ever want an X-Men comic that what was it? Whiskey that starts with like using mutant
Yeah.
powers to make like fantastic whiskey.
Yes. Yeah. Where Sebastian Shaw is pretty much doing his impression of the most interesting man in the world for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it opens up with him just talking about some whiskey. This was a fun one also. It's funny, the stories that came out today, it's almost like this lineup was handpicked for me. I mean, Moon Knight, Venom, obviously, Venom and Spider-Man, a couple of my favorite characters. And then Marauders has been my favorite part of the Hickman's House of X whole storyline. So it was really awesome to see that one come out today as well.
And not that I love having prose in my comic books, but the correspondence that they have in there between K-Pride and Nightcrawler just it wrecks you emotionally. So
yes, absolutely. But it was a fun issue too, because this is such a unique team of mutants, and the one mission that you get to see in this issue is very reminiscent of like the Lumerian Star in Captain America: Winter Soldier.
yeah.
Where they just kind of come in and take over the ship, and it was a lot of fun, like seeing all the different components of that team come together.
Yeah, and I wasn't a huge X-Men reader, namely because Disney didn't have the theatrical rights until recently. So like when I was making choices of what I was reading, like X-Men, and to me X-Men, I mean, I heard Stan Lee just talk about how like X-Men was his being lazy because he didn't have to come up with a reason they had powers. They just went
Right.
along that way. But I grew up with the 90s X-Men cartoon, and like, this isn't really connected to that at all. But jumping into X-Men again, like, yeah, I mean, I did Google a little bit about Krakoa just so it has some sort of
Sure.
understanding of where it is. I've heard so much about it, but it was great to. It's still a good jumping on point. Like, it's not, you're not getting in some middle of an epic. It's, leading into the next X-Men massive story, but you're getting there step by step. And it's, one of my big concerns about comics was, when I first started reading, I'd pick up an issue and I had no idea what's going on. And I would say, like, see issue 27. And it
Yeah.
was before the internet. Like, you couldn't just hop one over and pick up 27. So I'm glad that as Marvel's coming back, I mean, I love the complicated storytelling that comes with comics.
Right.
I'm glad that these were accessible comics, because there's people at home who might be jumping into Marvel for the first time or coming back like I am. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely makes perfect sense. I'm like you. I'm not the biggest, like the X-Men corner of the Marvel universe is not where I spend most of my time. But if you are an X-Men fan, I definitely recommend going back and starting from the beginning of Hickman's whole House of X storyline, especially Marauders.
So final issue this week is the special oversized Venom number 25. Has two stories, a main story and sort of a flashback story. Written by the crazy man Donny Cates, art by Mark Bagley, and covered by Ryan Stegman. So I'm gonna admit, like, I'm not a huge Venom fan, and like I really enjoyed this issue, and because I felt basically it's a clip show kind of with with Eddie Brock, like, telling the story so far. And if you haven't been paying attention to Venom, whether it's through Venom Island or what's it called, Absolute Carnage,
Absolute Carnage, yeah.
Or Maximum Carnage, whatever one was recently.
Absolute Carnage was the recent one.
They there's a lot of crazy going on. And if you've actually watched the Spider-Man cartoon on Maximum Venom on Disney XD, it's kind of like getting into that. It's like more, it's a whole sort of symbiote family and God and all that. And this is a great way, as he's basically explaining what's happened to an unseen narrator till the end of what's happened. Like, it's not going to tell you everything. It's not going to, you're not going to become a Venom expert by reading this. But if you want to jump into the Venom story, which this made me want to do, I think it's a good book.
Right. Yeah. I've been reading this series. I'm not completely caught up to this point. I'm mostly waiting for it to hit Unlimited. But no, I've loved this Venom series from Donny Cates. Donny Cates is probably my favorite writer going right now. The whole beginning of it with, first of all, I mean, finding his son Dylan, and then leading to the big fight with Null, the symbiote god, and then leading into Absolute Carnage. It's been just an awesome story. And then that all kind of just gets thrown at you in this one issue. You kind of get caught up on everything that happens. And then they pull one of my favorite tricks in comics, which is where the whole issue is just the guy having a conversation and you're not seeing the other side of the conversation until like the last page or two. And that kind of springs that big surprise on you at the very end.
Yeah. So, some great books. I know it sounds like we're just doing a puff piece here, but I think there wasn't one where I was like, I mean, there's definitely times I've struggled through comics, especially when, like, I can't follow the action.
Right.
But, I think this was a good week. So, as I said, there's no comics next week, or new comics. There's some new collections coming, and Max is doing a great job sort of on a series recapping some past classic Marvel storytelling, so that are all available on Marvel Unlimited. But tonight, The Wonderful World of Disney is going to be presenting Thor: The Dark World, everyone's favorite Thor film, or not. And then leading into the Return of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we've both seen the first episode, spoiler free. But what do you think?
I liked it. I have been kind of off and on with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sometimes the story, I think, just gets a little too complex when they're out in space and everything. There's so much different stuff going on. I like what they're getting into now, going back in time and, getting involved with, I don't want to get too much into it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm excited that it's becoming a S.H.I.E.L.D. show again, as opposed to just that core characters. Like, yes. I mean, and I don't want to get, once again, I don't want to get too much into it, but it's not like, because of the events of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, at the end of their first season, basically Shield went away.
Right.
And then, they would kind of prop it like up and say it was there, but it was sort of a baby Shield, and
Yeah.
then they went off in space together, and there was no Shield. Like, it just, like, now I feel like the Shield mythos are actually playing a role as the series ends its conclusion with the last 13 episodes here.
Right. Yeah, it'll be exciting to see with this jump back in time where this ends, and does this bring us to the beginning of Shield? And I'm also interested in seeing, is time travel going to affect anything? Does it work the same way as Avengers Endgame? I guess we'll have to kind of see. But
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, now that I don't know what the Marvel Television kind of came strong out of the gate. They did the Netflix shows. This was sort of their anchor show. They tried Agent Carter, which didn't last very long. I enjoyed it, but and it was sort of been tangential to the MCU. But now, if the show's coming to Disney Plus, which are supposed to be, hardcore MCU, all super connected,
Right.
which is a different business model, which is, it's not network television where you have to have 22 episodes. And, Shield was sort of the transition out of that. It'll be interesting to see how it wraps up, especially since, it's not, Coulson's gone through many iterations.
Right.
And, what's the proper ending? I think they'll do it right. I feel like this team has an ending in mind, but I'm looking forward to seeing that journey, and then, sort of wrapping this up as we get into, future Marvel storytelling through, through the Disney Plus shows, especially since, we lost Black Widow, to November, and
Right.
it's just like, this is the glue that's going to keep us all together.
Yeah. I'm confident that they'll end the show well. I'm just curious to see if they'll completely close it off. I mean, there are rumors and stuff always going on out there. I'm curious to know if we see Daisy or Quake in future anything, in the future with Marvel in the cinematic universe. But curious, we'll have to wait and see.
So for those that don't know, Hasbro's been doing this thing called Fan First Fridays. Mike Celestino covered the Star Wars one. They've done a G.I. Joe one. But last Friday, they did one for Marvel.
It wasn't just like, here's a new figure and then here's the next new figure. Like they were they kept it fun and light and everything. So telling jokes and whatnot.
So let me see if I'm going to share my screen, and if you can just sort of walk us through the figures as we get to them.
Let's see.
So the first one is the 6-inch AIM Trooper figure.
Yeah, they're all 6 inches. So I don't know why they feel the need to put that in the name of the figure. But yeah, so this is from their forget the name of the series. It's Build a
Figure.
Build a Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they did with the Stormtroopers. Like where
exactly. Yeah. So they've done. I believe they did Hydra before. Now they're doing AIM. So yeah, just a pretty cool classic look on that figure there. And then next up is War Machine, which another one. I like that they went with more of a classic, like cartoonish look on this figure as opposed to like the MCU version. So that's another one, and a lot of great accessories on him too. This is my favorite one. There's a reason you saw the Apocalypse figure up at the top of the page too. I love the look of this figure. It is awesome, and the size comparison as well to the other figures, just much bulkier.
And speaking of Moon Knight,
yeah, and another one of my favorites. Really like this figure too. I like that they give you the interchangeable head with you could go either the white mask or the black mask, and then of course again all the accessories that he comes with. And then they have a whole retro Spider-Man collection going on right now, and this was their new Spidey figure. Interchangeable head, interchangeable hands. It was very lots of points of articulation. He was very like collapsible, so you can kind of do all those classic Spider-Man poses. And then I thought this one was interesting, just a classic Peter Parker figure. And they mentioned that the interchangeable head was the first time they gave him like the Spidey sense head, so you can kind of see that he's reacting to some sort of danger.
Then this one's the one that I don't know how I feel about.
Yeah, I know. This is very strange. I thought they were going to get into, maybe there are different interchangeable outfits or something too, to make it not just Gwen Stacy's body with Mary Jane's head. But obviously you got the Gwen Stacy figure there, and then an interchangeable Mary Jane Watson head. So, you know.
You can pick which girlfriend, yeah, Peter Parker today. And this is cool. This is retro Green Goblin.
Yeah, I really like this figure too. You mentioned that X-Men 90s cartoon a while back. The Spider-Man cartoon that ran along with it was that, and X-Men. That's what I grew up on from Marvel as well. And this figure just like seems like it just jumps right out of that animated series. So I love that one as well. And the same thing for this Electro actually came. It just looks right out of the series or out of the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man over at Universal Orlando. Same.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. And this is a cool look for Daredevil.
Yeah, the armored Daredevil figure here, all kinds of accessories that come with him, and then the Matt Murdock interchangeable head. I thought that was a little interesting. He's still wearing the full-on Daredevil armor, but with Matt Murdock's normal head. But, you know, nice to have the other option.
So, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I love that Apocalypse figure. That is really awesome. Apocalypse has always been one of my favorite X-Men villains as well. So it was just, you know, a character that I like, and I just really like the way that figure came out.
I think my favorite's Peter Parker. Like, it's so rare to have them in their civvies, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like that Spider Sense head too. That is pretty cool.
So check out Laughing Place for full details on where you can pre-order them. So I think the AIM figure is exclusive to Hasbro Pulse. And rest.
I know Moon Knight was Walgreens exclusive,
Okay.
and then I think that might have been the only one. I'm not sure. The AIM figure might have been as well.
So obviously we're in a time of social distancing and things are taking longer than we thought. But they released a new information about the Marvel Avengers game, which is coming from Square Enix. The folks that do Kingdom Hearts, different studio in that group, but that same company. It's been a kind of crazy day, so I'm not up to the loop. But what did they announce today?
So they announced what they're calling, I guess, a war table event. So the video kind of just showed basically how fans were doubting that the game was going to come out on time, even with the delayed September release. And they basically just put this video out there saying, like, we're good. We're going to make September. And in the meantime, we're going to give you this event to hold you over. And the video showed, I believe it was, what was it, June 24th, was it? Is the event?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was right. It was, I think, pretty sure it was June 24th. They are going to, basically, they're going to show new trailers. They're going to show off the co-op play. So basically just more footage of the game to get people excited, even more excited than they already are. I know I'm really looking forward to it. And June 24th, yeah, that is the date.
Okay, great. Well, we'll have to talk about that when that comes around. So we talked about how there's new comics today, but Marvel has been releasing some titles sort of straight to digital. These tend to be like the last parts of miniseries, or titles that they kind of probably won't get new attention at this point, but they want to finish the storyline. So they'll be available on the Marvel app. So they announced a few more today. So June 3rd, you're going to have Avengers of the Wasteland #5, Revenge of the Cosmic Ghost Rider #5, 2020 Force Works #3, Scream Curse of Carnage #6. On June 17th, Valkyrie Jane Foster #10, Ant-Man #5, 2020 Ironheart #2, Ghost Spider #10. On July 1st, Hawkeye Freefall #6, Marvel Spider-Man The Black Cat Strikes #5, Ravencroft #5, and Star #5. So I probably won't be partaking because it's not really time for me to jump into a new series, as I'm just sort of ramping back into it, now that I have time at home. But it's nice that they're letting people finish the stories for comics that probably might not have necessarily a good path at retail.
Right. Yeah. None of these. I haven't been reading any of these stories here personally, but I mean, a few of them that jump out to me. Cosmic Ghost Rider has been a really awesome character, really awesome new character. Scream, Curse of Carnage, anything symbiote related gets me excited. And then Ravencroft also is a pretty cool idea for a series as well.
Cool. So what do we have to look forward to? So we got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be running every week. Then we've got uh, new comics coming out in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and hopefully more as we get closer into things. So Mac, anything you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I'm really excited that Marvel Comics are back and looking to get back into the weekly releases. I was having a lot of fun going back with all of the old collections that Marvel was putting up for free on Marvel Unlimited, and which you can go and check back, like you mentioned earlier. All those look backs that I've been doing for the past few weeks. That's been a lot of fun as well. One of my biggest problems with reading comics is just where do you start? You open up Marvel Unlimited. There's seemingly like an infinite amount, and
Right.
you gotta have somewhere to jump in. So that has really been nice. It's just kind of giving you those collections to read.
So cool. So once again, congratulations, Mac. You'll be having a full episode recap of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after it airs,
Yep.
and you'll do that for the next 13 weeks. And we'll look forward to seeing you later. So
Yeah.
thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for taking the
Thank
time,
you.
Mac.